I'm going to show you how to do step 29. Step 29 is you are going to be sewing on the X's that you just drew in number 28, and this is a reinforcement for your handles. And you're going to be sewing a box with an X in the middle of the box with one continuous stitch. You should have already practiced this on a piece of paper and had it checked off by your teacher before you begin this step. Okay? Now for 29, it shows you the picture of which direction you're going to be sewing in order to make this box with the X in it. Okay? For me, when I sew, I like to have the directions upside down, because the first one that I do for number 1, I have to have my fabric in my machine like this. Since my machine feeds through my machine this way, my first one is coming up this row here. I have to have it upside down. So I like to have my picture upside down too, to remind me where to go next. Okay? I am going to start down here. So I'm going to start by putting my needle down. So I know I'm going to start right where I want. Put my presser foot down. And now I'm going to be sewing forwards right on top of the line that I already sewed. Okay, so I'm going to sew forwards and I'm going to backstitch. Okay. I'm sewing all the way up to the corner. Okay, now I want to leave the needle down so I can push the button to leave the needle down. Okay, or I can turn my hand wheel to make the needle stay down. Okay, but I'm going to be turning a corner, so I want the needle down. So when I lift this up, when I lift my presser foot up, I can spin my fabric. Now the second place I have to sew is across the top here, just like it shows in the picture. So I did my first one here, the second one has to go right across my top stitching line. So I am going to move my whole project like this so I can sew across the top. Okay. I'm going to sew this way. When I get to the next corner, I'm going to leave the needle down again. And number 3 says to go diagonally across my the X here. So I'm going to lift this up. And I'm going to spin my fabric. And I'm going to roll the bag up so that it will fit for me to be able to spin it. Okay, so if you look at your picture, if you ever get confused, make it so your picture and your drawing are facing the same way. I'm doing number 3 across this way, so I have to do this line across this way. Just going to line it up, put my presser foot down, and I'm going to keep sewing. When I get to the corner, I leave my needle down, and number 4 says to go across the bottom. So I'm going to sew right on the line that I drew. Okay, leave my needle down in the corner. Step 5 says to go up the diagonal line. Stop in the corner. Step 6 says to go back across the top. So step 2 was across the top. Step 6 is across the top also. You're going to have 2 lines right on top of each other. So I spin it. I'm going to go back across the top. Leave my needle down. And step 7 says to come down this side. And this is my final stitching line. I'm going to end up down here. So I'll put my presser foot back down. Sewing down to the bottom, and then I'm going to backstitch because this is the end, so I can end here. Now I can push my button so that the needle comes back up again. I'm going to take my fabric out, and I'm going to check for a couple of things. I'm going to cut off my thread tails. And I'm going to cut my bobbin ones. Okay. And I want to check to make sure that I did not sew on the handle piece. Okay, you should have pinned it up so it was out of your way. Want to make sure I didn't accidentally catch on that. Okay. Also make sure when you're sewing this that you're using your webbing color thread. So mine is black because my straps are black. Whatever color straps you have, that's what color this should be so it blends in. And that's step 29.